Hey everybody, Zuri here, and I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about the life that you're creating and how are you thinking about your life? So often, especially in this pandemic, but even beforehand, so often we really spend a lot of our time and energy and efforts reacting to life and how it's showing up in the circumstances versus creating in our life. And I really want to invite and encourage you that it's time to come back to being creators of our lives and not just reacting. It's the difference between surviving and thriving. And in spite of the fact we're still in a pandemic, in spite of everything that's happening, we really still can do that and create that for ourselves. Now, the beauty of when we start looking at creating, and think about it, because that's what we used to do when we were kids. All we did was sit and dream. We had enjoyed ourselves and played and thought about, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want your life to look like? And think about all of the big gallant things that you wanted to do and who you wanted to be. And so often life slowed us down and we lost that vibrance for creating. But when we do actually get back to creating, one of the things that I've learned is that we slow ourselves down from what we actually want to create based on what we believe we can create. And it's one of our biggest challenges that we do let ourselves be limited by so much. And when you think about it, oftentimes it's because of our conditionings where we think about and set goals based on what we believe we can do. And that really limits us and our potential. And that's because so much of life has conditioned us to think about our future possibilities based on the circumstances and data points of the past. And stop and think about that for a minute. Whether consciously or unconsciously, look at what's already happened in my life, look at what's already happened to other people in their lives as examples of what I can do in the future. Now, what kind of sense does that make? Why am I looking to the past for what I can do in the future? And that's where we only think about what we can do based on what we've done before and maybe a little bit increment more and maybe a little bit increment more. And that's just too small. There is so much more of you and there is so much more of your potential of what you are called to do. And really, when we can let go of the can do that's based on the past and really tap into the call to, which is based on the future, which is yet unwritten because you're going to create it, worlds start opening up. And when I say called to, I'm talking about tapping into your soul, tapping into that higher, deeper space, tapping into what God has called you to do, that soul's agreement for why you came here, those bigger things, those passions, those joys that light you up, that you dream about and haven't yet done or maybe started and not finished and all of that other stuff. That's the calling. Those things that just, when you even tap into it, the smile comes on your face, you light up, and there's an energy that comes through because that is your soul's yearning. That's the stuff you were meant to bring into this world. And so often we let ourselves get cut off from that. And let me tell you, there's even more beyond what you're even tapping into or what you may or may not even allow to come through with that calling. But when you allow that to start to come through and when you allow that to be the basis for how you set your visions and goals, oh my gosh, stuff just starts reformulating. Now, you may say, yeah, but that's a nice to. I would love to be able to do that, but I got real life stuff that I'm dealing with right now that's taking place right now. Well, you know what? Here's the thing about circumstances. Circumstances really, even the big ones, are blips and data points in our lifeline. There are so many other things to happen. And when we let the circumstances of a limited time frame overhaul how we're writing and creating and envisioning our future, it truly limits us. And sometimes you're like, yeah, but I got to get through these circumstances. I got to solve this problem or what have you. And I'm not saying forget about that, but so many times when we allow ourselves, instead of dealing with here, to actually expand into our calling and what might that be like and how could I create that, part of what comes through are all sorts of different possibilities of solving what you're dealing with now or shifting how you move through that now, which is simply amazing. I had a client who came to me and had a problem and was so focused on, I'm stuck, I've got a problem, there's option A and there's option B. And when we started coaching together and she was able to shift some of those conditions that forced her just to stay myopically focused on those issues, it opened up and it turned out the problem wasn't a problem and there was actually an option C. And it was simply, as she expanded into owning what she truly wanted and what she was truly called to do. And like, yes, I accept the calling and that is what I want to actually go do. Everything shifted. Even the problem shifted and looked different. And it was amazing how she was able to go through and navigate that. And so think about that and allow yourself to take some time and feel into, what am I called to do? What are those yearnings for me? If I had the magic wand and I could wave it and say, whatever you desire, what's that thing that you desire for yourself? What's that thing you wish to bring into your life, create in your life, shift in your life? Because that's the depth. That's when we really start living at a whole different level. And it is amazing how our life, our internal life, our life on the outside will reformulate around when we step into the vision of the calling. And for me, I'll share my own personal story. Life these past 5-6 years have been decade have been totally different since I started owning and stepping into my calling. Now, here's the thing. When we step in and start looking at the calling and creating based on the future of where we want to go, it is scarier. There is no question. The reason we look at what I can do and the data points on the past is because it's safe. It's comfortable. It's easy to look at that because there's all sorts of things that are there and it feels like a nice warm blanket and we can rest in that. At least I can guarantee I know if I do A, then B will happen. But guess what? When you jump over here, you may not know the B, but guess what? There's a G, H, and I that's happening too. And some of you who've known me for a while may have heard me talk about this. When I really got into clarity that my calling is to help women, Black women, really be able to heal the wounds and the blocks that keep us back and slow us down and hold us back from stepping into the greatness of who we really are so we can bring our gifts into the world. And I owned that, life started shifting. And when I did, and I literally had this conversation with God and I was like, okay, I got it. I finally got it. What do I do with that now? I don't know what to do with that. What does that look like? And at that time, because when we own it, we will get guided. We will get steps. We may not get the whole path. I certainly didn't get the vision of the next 10 years. I couldn't have imagined I would have moved to the West Coast. I would have actually picked up and moved to Bali. But we get the next steps. But we've got to clear the space to allow those steps to come in. And for me, that next step was actually, you need to take some time and go deeper with yourself. If you want to do this for other women, guess what? You've got to figure out how to do this for yourself because you haven't done that yet. And that calling for me was to take a giant leap of faith, and I picked up and moved to Bali. And here's where it gets amazing and magical. I thought I was going for 3 months because I was too afraid. I wasn't ready to just cut off my old life. So I took a baby step. And that baby step, when I took it and was willing to do a leap, boy, did it blow up. Guess what? 3 months of being on that journey turned into a year and a half. Who would have even thought it? If you said, Zuri, go and just take off for a year and a half and live off of savings and allow money to just flow into your life and all. I was like, you lost your mind. That's not going to happen. And it happened. And when I was living and truly taking those leaps of faith, and yes, the wings did appear, it was so much bigger than what I imagined. There was so much more. And every step I took, then the next 2 steps showed up for me of where to go and how to go. And then I continued and I was able to refine the vision and get even more clarity so I could start taking actions and planning with that as well. So it goes hand in hand. So I want to let you know it is possible. Those deep yearnings are within you for a reason. They are your callings of where you are meant to go, where life, all of the good and the bad and the ugly of how life has shown up, has been there to mold you, to prepare you for this and for your calling. It's not going to let you down. You've been molding and shaping for this. It's just time for you to accept it, to own it, and be willing to move forward in that. So I've got exciting stuff that I'm building to help support you with that as well. So keep posted and let me know, what are those urges? What are those callings? Type below that you were feeling. And if you were feeling me on this and shifting from what I can do to what I'm called to do, like heart below, let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. See you soon.